No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of Monday Night Raw for September 2nd, 2024, a special Labor Day edition coming off the Bash in Berlin premium live event. We have a new commentary team for the fall season. Joe Tessitore making his Raw debut along with Wade Barrett. They were in the ring. They introduced the show. Now, I will say this about Joe's commentary. I thought he did all right. I am not a sports guy. I've never heard anything he's ever called. I thought he did fine for his first show. My biggest issue was that he felt very subdued. I like his voice. It almost sounds like Mauro Ranallo's voice, but a lot less energy. Also, I feel like he didn't know a lot of the moves. And I did notice during the second and third hour, Jerry brought this up in the chat room. It felt like Wade Barrett was taken the lead. I'm not sure if that was something that Triple H wanted or Michael Cole, but it did seem like Joe was maybe sticking to the script, and he did come off a bit monotone. I'm hopeful that over the next several weeks he'll get more comfortable in the role, but for the first night in, I think he did fine. We had Bash in Berlin footage shown, and we had Rhea Bloody Ripley come into the ring for a promo. She talked about how she pinned Liv Morgan at the premium live event, and she wants her title back. But Dominik Mysterio, her ex-lover, interrupted. He had a black eye from the premium live event, a gnarly black eye. Rhea threatened to give Dominik another one. Dominik said they lost at Bash in Berlin, him and Liv Morgan, because they were tired from all the traveling. They didn't get any sleep for multiple reasons. However, Dominik said that Liv would accept the challenge. She's not afraid of Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley said she'll face Liv any place, anytime. And then Liv attempted to take a cheap shot. However, Liv was able to fight her off, but then Dominik was in the mix, and then Rhea got her foot tied up in the rope, which you think back to what happened to Damian Priest, almost looked like it wasn't meant to happen, but they played up on it. They were attacking the leg, and then Liv Morgan gave Rhea Ripley a kiss. Damian ran down. Damian Priest came out there to make the save, but the damage, at least for the time being, had already been done to Rhea Ripley. Building Nexus sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, still think the Terror Twins need to apologize to Rey Mysterio. Rey wasn't even on the show this week. He came back last week, and this week he was nowhere to be found. I'm not sure what's up with him, but it seems like he's okay with Rhea Ripley now, I suppose. They didn't really follow up on it. We'll see if anything happens over the next couple weeks, if Rey ends up being involved or if he moves on to something else. Who knows? Now, backstage, Damian Priest told Rhea Ripley he was going to talk to Adam Pearce. Rhea was on a crutch. She was hurt. And then we had Chad Gable giving a pep talk to the Creed brothers. And that set up our first match of the evening, American Made, the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile versus Alpha Academy, Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine Dupree. 6-person mixed tag team match. American Made had the early momentum, but then back in the ring, after attacking Otis on the outside. Otis slammed Julius. Ivy Nile tagged in, got in Otis's face, but then Maxine Dupree went after her, and then Otis was using Tozawa for an airplane spin. During the commercial break, American Made regained the upper hand. Brutus came off the top with the Brutus ball to Otis, and then Maxine tagged in. She went after Ivy Nile. Then we had interference. First interference of the night, and mark it down every time there was interference in a match. Chad Gable got on the apron, knocked off by Maxine Dupree. She took her eye off the ball. Stupid babyface. Ivy Nile took advantage and pinned Maxine Dupree with the Dragon Sleeper, or made her submit with the Dragon Sleeper, excuse me. Maxine falls victim to the outside interference. Whatever, she's low on the totem pole, but yeah, I'm not a fan of the stupid babyface distraction finish. Just my opinion. Match was pretty entertaining, though. Ivy Nile and American Made finally get a win. And after the match, Gable cut a promo. He said that the only reason Uncle Howdy beat him last week was because the freak show of a family got involved. He called out Howdy. He wanted a match, 8-person tag team match for next week, a street fight. Uncle Howdy came out there, got on the mic. He accepted the match, said they will collect the debt from American Made next week. And then the rest of the Wyatt Six came out there, and that set up the match for next week's show. Next week is the season premiere, by the way, since it's the first show against football. They're stacking up next week's show with the 8-person tag match, and we have a few other big matches. It is an 8-person match, so Nikki Cross and Ivy Nile will be part of it, presumably. We had Zelina Vega versus Shayna Baszler. And you had the rest of the Pure Fusion Collective out there. Zelina was trying to go after Shayna's arm. Zelina built up some momentum, came off the top with the moonsault, but Shayna kicked out. And guess what? Mark it down. We had match 2, more interference. We had Zoe Stark get on the apron. And guess what? She got knocked off the apron, and Shayna Baszler took advantage. Stupid babyface Zelina Vega picks up the win. Shayna wins. She needed help to beat Zelina Vega. We had a 3-on-1 attack after the match. Lyra Valkyria ran down to make the save, but she was still outnumbered. And it was a 3-on-2 beatdown. But then backstage, Zelina, Lyra Valkyria were pissed off, and Lyra said they're ready to fight back, and she had an idea for next week in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which I presume that means the boat returns Natalia for Calgary. Otherwise, I have no idea where this is going. This is the only thing that makes sense to me, that Natalia will show up for a 6-woman match in Calgary, make her return. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Sonya Deville cut a promo and told the fans to respect the Pure Fusion Collective. And she said that no men can take them home or take them on. Well, I figured there was a reason that no men would take them home, but I won't get into that anymore. Now, I did want to mention this comment here from Kaysen about the YouTube TV. Canceled YouTube TV, and I did too. I'm officially back on Sling now that SmackDown is leaving Fox to go back to USA Network. I have no need for YouTube TV. Save $25 a month, $27 a month, I think. So not too shabby. We had Damian Priest backstage with Rhea again. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any friends because Judgment Day screwed over everybody. And then Rhea said that she had an idea. And we found out later on what her idea was. Stay tuned. CM Punk came down to the ring. He said the strap match with Drew McIntyre was one of his toughest matches in his career. But now that the personal issue was out of the way, it's time to get down to business because he wants to make money. That's why he came back, not to make friends, but to make money. He called out Gunther and he celebrated on the announce table, but then Drew McIntyre wearing a hoodie showed up, attacked CM Punk. Wade Barrett tried to calm McIntyre down. That did not work. McIntyre beat up Punk in the ring, laid him out with a claymore, and then officials came down. McIntyre then took the bracelet. CM Punk, for whatever reason, was wearing the bracelet, figuring it would never be stolen again, but it was, in fact, stolen again. And then Drew McIntyre, the son of a bitch, took that bracelet and destroyed it. Times like this where I missed Pat McAfee. With all due respect to Joe Tessitore, it wasn't the call that you would get with Pat McAfee or even Michael Cole, like just reacting like this was the worst thing of all time. Drew McIntyre destroyed the bracelet, so at least we know it's finally the end of the bracelet storyline. He took the pieces, the beads, shoved them in CM Punk's mouth, and then took him out with one more claymore. They brought out a stretcher for CM Punk, and then backstage, Drew McIntyre continued to attack CM Punk. Punk was bleeding from the mouth, and then McIntyre tried to gouge out the eyes of CM Punk. This was awesome. This is what we needed to set up the Hell in a Cell match for Bad Blood. Best segment of the night, not even close. This stole the show, and this was the perfect angle to set up Hell in a Cell with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Very well done here. Looking forward to the match coming up to settle the feud. Who will win? I mean, one would think CM Punk wins and then goes on to face Gunther, but where would Drew McIntyre go? Going to be very interesting to see how that final match plays out at Bad Blood. We had a triple threat match in the little IC title tournament. We had Dominik versus Dragon Lee versus Ilya Dragunov. And it was a pretty good match to start off. Dragunov hit the H-bomb to Dragon Lee, but then Dominik broke it up with a frog splash. And then Lee started to build up momentum. He went up top and mark it down. Guess what happened? Interference. Carlito showed up. It's triple threat rules, no DQ. Carlito attacked him. Damian Priest then ran down, went after Carlito. Then Priest chased Dominik away, so it was just Dragunov and Dragon Lee. They went back and forth, had a really good couple of minutes, near falls, back and forth, and then Dragunov finally was able to pick up the victory with the Torpedo Moscow, which Joe did not call the move, but it was, in fact, the Torpedo Moscow. Got the win, and then afterwards we had some sportsmanship with Dragunov helping up Dragon Lee and raising his hand. Happy to see Dragunov win. Dragon Lee got some TV time. Hopefully he'll get to be showcased more on television. We still don't know where the hell Rey Mysterio is, but hopefully he'll be back soon. Speaking of people that weren't on the show, no Braun Strowman after the attack last week. Strowman was there, though. And because of what happened with Bronson Reed, he got COVID-19, so he was not on the show this week. And a rare case of COVID in WWE, somebody being pulled from the show. Braun Strowman was there with his ribs taped up, said he was banged up, but medical said he was good to go. And Adam Pearce very reluctantly agreed, and the match was set up with Strowman taking Bronson Reed's spot in the match. And I screwed up. I said Strowman instead of Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed was out because of COVID. Braun Strowman taking his spot. Braun took Bronson's spot. That's the problem when two guys have similar names. Easy to mix them up. WWE is usually good about not having guys with similar sounding names. We got Braun Strowman, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker. Too many Brauns. But what's done is done. They could have had Bronson be Rex Steiner or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, we had our next segment, which was Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, the women's tag team champions. And I agree with Andrew about Braun coming back so soon, but obviously they had to come up with something here with Bronson Reed getting COVID. But yeah, I would have had him take a few weeks off. I was going to say Strowman. Bronson Reed's push will be fine. I'm sure he'll be back in a week or so. Well, not sure, but he'll probably be back in a week or so, and he'll be right back where he left off. We had the new women's tag team champions coming out there to watch Damage Control versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. You know what happens when we have the people out there at ringside watching the match. So anyways, things broke down early, and then you had Fire and Dawn taking control for a while. Then Io Sky got a hot tag. Things started to break down, and then Kairi Sane went for an insane elbow to the outside of the ring, but she ended up hitting Bianca Belair by mistake. And then the referee got distracted. Isla Dawn took a cheap shot to Io Sky, and then you had Fire and Dawn with the gory special double team finisher beating Io Sky 1, 2, 3 to pick up the win. So I guess this counts because we had people out there getting involved in the finish, more interference, more shenanigans. 4 matches in a row with some sort of shenanigans. And it was confirmed for next week. We will have the tag team title, I guess, rubber match. Bianca and Jade will defend against Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. So there you go. I guess Fire and Dawn get one more week in the spotlight before they pretty much fade into obscurity. I'm thinking Io and Kairi will get their match, and Kairi got hurt with her eye towards the end of the match. So that was kind of crazy. We had a little backstage cameo from Kofi Kingston. He had a proposition for him and Xavier Woods. He was going to pitch something to Adam Pearce, but we never found out what it was. And there's something interesting too. So Odyssey Jones, his profile was removed from WWE.com. He wasn't on the show last week. He wasn't on the show this week. Kofi was there in a brief cameo. What the hell is going on? Don't know what the deal is, but kind of sucks for the New Day storyline that was starting to pick up steam. Now what? What's going on here? Gunther came down to the ring, and he brought up how Bash in Berlin was the highest gate for an arena event in WWE history, which doesn't surprise me with the ticket prices for those shows and that show on Saturday. He called himself the greatest world champion. He beat the best version of Randy Orton. And then we had Sami Zayn come out, who might have been the most over person on the show. Him and Jay got to be up there. Well, Rhea too. I mean, there's so many hot acts in the company, but the crowd was absolutely loving Sami Zayn. They were singing his song, chanting his name. He seemed very touched by this. And he reflected on his IC title run and how all the great IC champions like Randy Savage, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, The Rock, Triple H, they all use the IC title as stepping stones to the World Championship. And Sami brought up how Gunther did the same thing. Zayn said he is going to do that. And Gunther responded by saying that, yes, all that is true. And while he gives credit to Sami Zayn for coming back when getting knocked down, the answer to a title match is no. And he stormed off. But then Sami Zayn said he will get his hands on Gunther one way or another. And brought up how he's the only guy that beat him on the main roster. So obviously we're setting up for a world title match, which makes sense since Sami Zayn did beat Gunther at WrestleMania. And Michael wants to know, what does your shirt say? It says, I just want to pet cats and watch horror movies. There you go. Thank you for the super chat, Michael. I appreciate it. Looking forward to the match. I mean, Sami Zayn's probably not winning the title. In fact, I would say it's highly unlikely, but Sami's delivery is so good and he does such a fantastic job as a sympathetic babyface that I'm looking forward to the match. Sami Zayn will make it a hell of a match for the world title. We'll see if that ends up being the world title match for Bad Blood. Would not shock me if it is. I definitely think it needs to be on the premium live event and not on Raw, considering it's a rematch from WrestleMania for the world title, no less. Our next segment, we had Jackie Raymond backstage talking to Jey Uso. Jey Uso accepted the match to be Damian Priest's tag team partner against Judgment Day, and he said it's Monday Night Raw. But then Braun Breaker showed up and got in Jay's face, told Jay to drop out of the tournament, go chase after Dominik's sloppy seconds. But then Jay said he was not going to do that. And in fact, he was planning to win the tournament and beat Braun Breaker's ass. Looking forward to what I think will be the match for Bad Blood, Braun Breaker versus Jey Uso. I would be shocked if Jey Uso doesn't win, especially after this little tease. Now, speaking of that, Walter Cruz, Rage of Wrestling, sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Walter. Says, why is Braun focusing solely on Jey? Shouldn't he warn everyone in the tournament? Seems like they are spoiling who's going to win a little. I agree with you, Walter. They could have had him go backstage and confront every potential opponent. But, yeah, the focus was Jey. Has to be Jey, right? Like, I mean, it has to be a babyface, I think, first of all. Could be Dragunov, but we already saw Braun Breaker versus Dragunov. I feel like it should be Jey. Braun Breaker beats him at Bad Blood, and then Jey moves on, maybe gets involved in the Bloodline storyline. That's what I think should happen. I think Braun should beat Jey clean, and then Jey moves on to the Bloodline. And same thing with Sami Zayn. Puts over Gunther clean at Bad Blood, then next storyline for Jey and Sami is reuniting with the Bloodline. We had a triple threat match in the IC title tournament. Braun Strowman, injured ribs and all, versus Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser. Kaiser was immediately slipping to the outside. Sheamus was going after him. Strowman took them both down with the Strowman Express, but then was selling his ribs. He charged at Kaiser. Kaiser moved, and Strowman crashed through the barricade. And after the break, Kaiser charged at Sheamus, but then Braun Strowman threw a chair at Kaiser, which got a big pop from the crowd. They started chanting, holy shit. Strowman then got Sheamus back in the ring, choke slam, Sheamus kicked out, and then Kaiser came back in, hit the Kaiser roll to Sheamus, but Sheamus kicked out, and then Sheamus was perhaps on the verge of winning the match, but then Pete Dunne showed up. Another match with interference, mark it down, more shenanigans. Pete Dunne attacked Sheamus, hit him with the shillelagh, and then Braun Strowman pinned Kaiser with the power slam to pick up the win. Makes me think that Bronson Reed was going to win this match. Not that I think Bronson Reed was going to win the whole tournament, but yeah, Strowman comes in Bronson Reed's spot and ends up winning the match. Shout out to Building Nexus, who sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, what if the bloodline screws Jey Uso? Are we talking about the new bloodline? I don't think the old bloodline is screwing Jey. But yeah, I think what you're saying is if Solo Sikoa interferes. I don't necessarily see that happening unless Jey gets involved first. Like, why bring Jey into the mix when you don't have to, when he's off doing his own thing? I feel like Jey coming in is more going to be Roman Reigns and probably Jimmy Uso needing some help. And that's when blood is thicker than water and Jey needs to do something to help out the OG bloodline tribal chief. We'll see how that all plays out. And then we had a little backstage talk with Damian Priest and Jey Uso, and Jey said he still respects Damian Priest despite their issues, and said he cannot turn down Rhea Ripley's offer. So they're still kind of being flirtatious. Not sure how Rikishi feels about that. He's been criticizing that. Pete Dunne then was interviewed backstage by Jackie, and he talked about Sheamus, said he had to take care of Sheamus, and now he's back off to NXT. But then Jackie called him the B word, Butch. And that just got Pete Dunne all angry. We had our main event of the evening, Damian Priest, Jey Uso going up against Finn Balor and J.D. McDonough. Priest and Jey Uso dominated the early part of the match. Eventually, Balor and JD were able to get the upper hand. Then Damian Priest got the hot tag, but Balor avoided South of Heaven, and then JD took a cheap shot. Jey Uso tagged back in, hit some super kicks, went up top for the Uso splash. But guess what happened? Mark it down. Liv Morgan showed up and knocked Jey Uso off the apron, or off the top rope, I should say, while the referee was distracted. Balor hit the coup de grace, JD with the moonsault to Jey Uso, but Damian Priest made the save. And then Rhea Ripley came out, big pop for her. Despite being hurt, she came out there and she went after Liv Morgan with her crutch. Liv Morgan ran through the crowd. And then Jey Uso hit the spear to Balor. Damian Priest took out J.D. McDonough with the Razor's Edge. And then Uso came off the top with the splash. Got the 1-2-3 victory. And good guys prevailed. Celebrated with Rhea Ripley to close out Monday Night Raw. Way too much as far as outside interference and distractions. Commentary was what it was. I miss Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. This is a work in progress, definitely. Dylan Lasagna sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Dylan. I appreciate it. Says, where exactly are they going with the Terror Twins versus Judgment Day story? I'm getting really tired of the running and super OPTT booking. Well, I think Rhea Ripley will get her title match with Liv Morgan probably at the pay-per-view. They may try to hold it off a little bit longer, but I mean, that's definitely something that has to play out. And my guess is Rhea Ripley will eventually get the championship, and they'll do the singles match Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. Again, I don't know when they're going to do that, but I think that it's inevitable. That'll be a big match. And where they go from there, who knows? I mean, we still got some time until the draft, so they got to figure it out. And I'm wondering, where does that all go once it wraps up? And then what does Drew McIntyre do once the CM Punk feud wraps up? I mean, maybe it would be a good opportunity to do a few trades. We'll see what they come up with. I give Raw a C+. I think it was a decent show, but did not blow me away. I do feel like Raw has slipped a little bit in the last several weeks. But I will say this, the CM Punk angle was awesome. Definitely the highlight of the show. The rest of Raw was fine. We had some good wrestling, but like I said, they were really going overkill with the interference. I mean, I don't think there wasn't one clean finish on the entire show. Not one. So, you could do some clean finishes, and you don't have to have every match with somebody out there, somebody running down. You got to come up with some better stuff. Just my opinion. Too many stupid baby faces. But you know what? Maxine Dupree, whatever. Zelina Vega, whatever. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and stay tuned. Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. No DQ Review 300. Now, we might be going 3 hours for 300, so it's going to be a long one. Make sure you guys spread the word, tell a friend. Have a great week, everyone. Back to school for those of you going back to school, and for those of you going back to work. Hope it goes well for you. Getting back to the grind. Take care, everybody. I'll see you for 300. Say yes to no DQ, and I will see you all next time.